So here we are, back at it again, Whole Shot Power Sports, but today, 2023 Triumph Trident 660, a triple naked. Before we go out on a ride, the question for today is this 3-cylinder 660 better than the parallel twins that come in most nakeds? Which one do I prefer? Stick around to the end where we go full send on this thing. I tell you how the power is delivered and what I prefer more, parallel twins or these inline triples. Let's go on a ride today and see what this thing's got. All right, 2023 Triumph Trident 660. This is the first triple I've ever ridden, the first Triumph I've ever ridden. Oh yeah. And the first of this new little 600 class bike I've ever ridden. So first 30 seconds, initial impressions on this bike. It is very short front to rear. I feel crammed. The seat's like pushing me forward and my legs are a little bit further back than I wish I was. Like my feet want to be a little bit further forward or my butt a little bit further back. Here's a good shot of the body position. Boom, body at a 90, legs a little bit further back. I personally wish that I could sit a little bit further back right here to have a little bit longer stretch in my arms, but that's just me. I happen to have a long wingspan from here to here, so don't let that make or break any of your decisions. Power seems reasonable. Very, very upright in the back. Like I feel like I'm really sitting erect and straight up. And the bike seems pretty peppy. 3,000 to 4,000 RPMs, has a little bit of low range grunt. The big question for today is like, do I prefer this 3-cylinder configuration over the parallel twins? Because a lot of the bikes in this class are parallel twins. This is kind of one of the only triples. So is a triple better for these little middleweight nakeds? Let's find out. Subscribe. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Now, slow speed. Whee! We're going like 30 miles an hour through here. Slow speed stuff, it actually feels really nice. The bike is very balanced. It's easy, as most of these upright nakeds are. They have a lot of suspension travel, so it has a lot of like cushion in the ride. This bike may be set up for a little bit shorter rider, or sorry, a little bit lighter rider than I am. But, whoa, hello. We'll do this. Hopefully nobody's coming. These bikes have a lot of suspension travel, and I feel that. Like the second I sit on it, you feel the bike drop like an inch or two, but this bike feels like it has 4 or 5 inches of suspension travel. I don't know how much it is. I'll actually put it below, but it really does. Like the suspension works, it moves. Like this bike is very comfortable over smaller bumps, and you can tell immediately. It's light. I believe it's 416 or 417 pounds, but strangely enough, it actually feels lighter than that, man. Flicking it back and forth, it's very, very light and nimble. It feels a little bit lighter than it is, even though it's a, you know, decently weighted motorcycle. 400 pounds is about right for most like sports-ish bikes. And, you know, it feels a little bit lighter than it is. At least it handles that way. Also, I love these cantilever mirrors. For bar end mirrors, these ones that have this little metal bar to it, those are the most stable, man. These things don't move. I probably am going to replace the ones on my Sportster for something like this because it doesn't spin, it locks in place, I don't have to worry about it. I prefer those. I will say this, the throttle is pretty delayed. On the rev, on the free rev, like I was just doing there, it feels as though the throttle's like delayed. Obviously, it's like, it feels slow. It feels like there's a delay between the wrist input and the actual reaction of the bike. We'll pass these guys right here after this car. Third gear, 5,000. Oh, that carries pretty well, and that's only like a quarter throttle. Nice, this bike's gonna be fun. All right, going on mid-speed here. Obviously, it is a naked. There's no wind protection, so you get a nice clean gust of air. There's nothing protecting me, but I'm going, you know, 50, 60 miles an hour, and it's all right. Obviously, you know, I'm used to riding motorcycles, so if this is a first bike or a relatively new bike to you, you got to get used to the wind on you, but you can actually grab on fairly nicely. I have my balls of my toes on the pegs. You can actually grab the tank. You can keep yourself straight. You can lock in your core. So it's pretty easy on the wind. As far as the brakes are concerned, dual piston Nissan calipers, and the rotors are this big right here. Non-adjustable Shoei front forks. Actually has a pretty decent amount of travel. I think the suspension is actually fairly soft and comfortable. Most nakeds have a really good ride that is soft and compliant, and there's no difference with this. It is a long travel, nice cushy suspension. It's soft over the bumps and the long haul. Man, this bike can lean though. 6th gear, 40 miles an hour, 3,000 RPMs. The engine doesn't feel lugged. It's not the fastest bike. I think it only has, I believe it's like around 50 foot-pounds of torque, which is a lot for the amount of power that it has. It has about 80 horsepower and about 50 foot-pounds of torque, which is a pretty good balance. Once we get to that other section and start going a little bit faster, I'd be curious to see, man. I think a triple configuration in this size bike is actually really fun because it offers you good torque down low, just like twins do, but it'll actually have a little bit more carry at the top end because twins have a lot of punch down low, but they do die off at the top. This should have an equal amount of punch down low and should not die out at the top. It should at least carry. Not 4-cylinder carry, but very, very close. They do produce good power in the middle and very, very decent power up top, way more than twins do. So I'm actually kind of curious to see what the top end of this bike has to offer. So far, right here, middle RPMs, low speed in traffic. I think it's solid. I like it. And it seems like it's going to carry a lot more at the top, man. Getting close to 6,000 or 7,000 RPMs, part throttle, it kind of has a little bit of oomph to it in the middle. Also, we have to remember that about 2 streets that way, there was an officer on a motorcycle. This is where I usually talk a little bit about the tech stuff. And this thing has 2 modes. It has road mode and rain mode. We're going to leave it in road mode because, duh. It has all these buttons, but it doesn't have a lot of information, really. So you have gear indicator, which is awesome. You have your fuel level, which is awesome. This is a nice LCD display. It seems to be pretty responsive. I can see it bright. There's some clouds up in the sky. The sun's covered, but honestly, I can see it very nicely. And then you got a couple different things. So you go through the main menu, you got your mileage, you got your trip meter, you got your estimated miles per gallon and fuel economy, temperature, date, and then brightness on the screen, and then back to your menu. So there's a little bit of tech in there in terms of like options, but really it's just kind of a basic electronic display with your basic information. So there's nothing really special about it. I don't see anything for traction control. I don't know if this bike has traction control. I don't see anything for ABS. I don't see an ABS light anywhere either, which I'm sure it has somewhere. I don't dig too much into the electronics on these things, man. I get out and ride and see what it feels like. That's really the important thing. If you're buying a bike for electronics, you're buying it completely for the wrong reason. You need to ride, you need to get on the bike, you need to ride it, you need to see how it feels. It needs to make you smile when you sit on it and twist the throttle. Anything other than that, 100% just extra. ABS isn't going to make a bike good. Traction control isn't going to make a bike good. What makes a bike good is the frame, the geometry, how the front forks are set up, the suspension, the engine, the transmission. All that stuff is what makes a bike good. The bars, the size of the bars, the button click, it all adds to the experience. But in reality, like, that's not what makes you fall in love with a motorcycle. Like, if any of you guys, or any of you newer guys, ever talk to anyone that actually thoroughly loves a motorcycle, it's not ABS, it's not traction control, it's none of these fancy safety features. That's not why you fall in love with a bike. That's my TED Talk. Now, I will say, this is a damn good looking bike. I love the orange. I love the minimalist paint. It's literally paint here, a little bit of accent colors there, but the rest of it is seat and frame. It's very basic. There's not a lot to it, but I actually think it's a clean, simple design. I think it's good looking. Power! Second gear. We are at 35 miles an hour, 5,000-ish RPMs. Go! No quick shifter. Oh man, this thing moves, dude. Hell yeah! And those brakes are solid. Hello. FTR, nice. I like the brakes, man. The brakes do their job. They slowed me down from whatever double digit speed I was doing. Oh man, that's good power. It carries all the way to the top. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I prefer triples in this platform. It makes more power up top and almost equal amount of torque at the bottom, and the power curve is a lot more smooth. If you look at the power curve of a triple, when it comes to torque, it's like this, and it kind of carries a little bit, and then the horsepower kind of carries a little bit, but it has this little divot, this little, like, it drops off at the end. Whereas on here, it literally builds and builds and builds and builds. So as you rev it more, you get more speed. That's not particularly true with the twin cylinders. I prefer these triples. Oh man, because it's more linear and it still has torque at the bottom. Look at this, we're at 3,000 RPM, 6th gear. I gotta slow down, but awesome. I thoroughly enjoy it. What you feel a lot of the times comparing this bike to like an MT, when you punch an MT, you get like a, I don't know, you feel it squat, you feel the front end kind of lift up, and you feel like it's gonna like go, and then it taps out. Like really in 4th gear, it feels like it taps out. and it can't go anymore. This bike didn't tap out in 4th gear, and we're still talking a stock bike with a stock exhaust where it doesn't have a bunch of rider aids, like 4,000 RPMs, 45 miles an hour. I'm back in the seat, but I'm still going, and that's 4th gear. Wow. Yes. And these brakes are awesome. Listen, they're not as good as the 600. They're not as good as the monoblock 4 pistons, but dude, these brakes are more than adequate for this bike. More than adequate for this bike. And like scooping around through here, this bike is so light. Look at this. I could just weep. Don't do this at home, guys. Well, you can't do this at home because I'm on the street. But yeah, I get it. I get it. I'm a fan of a triple. I'm a fan of a triple. I need to get on a 675 or a 765 now. Oh my God. A 600 class triple with actual power in the 120 mark. Oh my God. Holy crap. All right, cruising here, 6th gear, 60 miles an hour. I got a lot of wind on me. It's like an even distribution of wind, so it's not like crazy. I don't feel any turbulence because it's one giant gust of wind. But, you know, over the long period of time, once you've ridden something and have constant like wind in your face, you know, it gets to you. Is it a big deal? No. Do you get used to it? 100%. But it's a thing. I think that this bike is probably a little cramped on the lower end for a taller rider, but as much as any actual sport bike. So it's not like that drastic of a difference. Like my 600 is more cramped, the ZX6 is more cramped, so it's not a big deal. The shifter on this bike is pretty direct. It's light and it clicks at the end once you're in gear. So you get a nice click at the end of the travel. So it's pretty decent. For some reason, shifting down into first is a little bit vague, but you know, from neutral to first, it's not really a big deal. So, you know, it's not bad. 6th gear, 60 miles an hour. I mean, we're still pulling. We still have a decent amount of pull, and for some reason around 7,000 RPMs is like, I guess, where we get 100% throttle. So this bike is actually pretty tame due to the tuning. So I'm sure that unlocking this bike would wake this little beast up.
Hey, you still there? Don't forget to subscribe.
All right, so full power, 20 miles an hour, 2nd gear. Yeah, this is a freaking beast, man. Dude, this bike is a mini beast. It carries all the way through 5th, it carries all the way through 6th. I literally have no complaints on the power level. I think that this is a great power level, about 80 horsepower and the mid 50s or the low 50s or high 40s in the torque. I think it's a great power level for the bike. This is a fun little hooligan bike. It's definitely lends itself less to wheelies and stunts and that kind of thing like the MT-07, but this is a good all-arounder, man. If you can find a way to put some luggage on it and take a little bit of cruise and get some wind wind protection on this bike, I think it's very solid. The way that the triple delivers power is more to my liking than the way that parallel twins deliver power. I definitely enjoy going full throttle on this thing and having the RPMs build, like the drama builds as you get higher and higher in the RPMs. I definitely enjoy it.
So there you guys have it, 2023 Triumph Trident 660. I think I'd pick this over an MT. Meh. Again, that's just me. It's a little bit slower than an MT-09 for sure, but as far as an MT-07, I think this has a little bit more usable power band. I think that the bikes are both equally as fun, equally as comfortable. I just kind of prefer the 3-cylinder layout over the 2. I like weird, unique, and different engine layouts, and this just happens to have one that's slightly less common. So thank you guys for watching. If you want some more motorcycle reviews, check out this one right here.